Hi everyone, my name is Barbara Beckmann and I'm a sip and paint instructor in New York. Come create some art with me today. A few years ago, I designed a nice fall painting for my parties. It's a 16 by 20 inch canvas that we'll be working on. And take notice of the Scarecrow. He is really whimsical and fun. He has a lot of different variations of colors going on and he's a great one to learn and a pretty easy one at that. So before I get started, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. I do teach sip and paint classes in New York, as I mentioned. They are super fun and a lot of fun. I'm actually a commission artist. That's what I do for a living. I paint portraits of people, pets, and mostly houses for realtors. They give them out as their closing gifts. But I started a side business years ago, about 8 years ago now, where I do these sip and paint classes, and that's kind of where this all started. So I'm going to share them with you here on YouTube. Why not? Why not reach more people? I'm all about that. Some people can't afford these classes and they would love to come. Some people are intimidated to come, or maybe they're homebound and they can't get out. So I'm going to bring some of my paintings to you. These are paintings that I've created myself, so there's no copyright infringement, and everybody's welcome to share them, paint them. If you're an instructor, go ahead, share them. It's fine with me. The more we share, the merrier. So here we go. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we get started. Okay, for my sip and paint instructors, when I teach my classes, I use Acrylic paint, acrylic paint, which I get at Dick Blick's. For demonstration here on YouTube, I'm just using ACMoore's brand. It's their version of their sip and paint. It's available in all ACMoore stores. I don't get anything out of it for mentioning that. It's just what I'm happening to be picking to be using for these YouTube videos. This way everybody at home can have access to these. They have their primary colors. There's only a few of them there. So it's white, blue, yellow, red, black, and green. So nothing fancy, and it's not hard. It's not chemistry, no science behind this. For the sip and paint instructors, I will list a link to Dick Blick and where you can get it and what I use. So I also use these foam plates. They are from the dollar store, the Dollar Tree, whatever you have available. They're very cheap. I think there's like maybe 16 in a package. I provide these to all my sip and paint painters that come to my classes. They have a nice mixing area. I put the palette on top, as you'll see me putting the colors around the top of the plate. And then I'll always provide them with a plate underneath it for mixing. So if you're following along at home and you're just doing a sip and paint along with me and you're not an instructor, give yourself a few plates under there to mix, and make sure you mix a lot of paint or enough paint. You can always remix paint as you need it, but as you'll notice throughout this painting, I will be going back and grabbing some paint, so I want some always kind of to be left over. So before I actually start painting, I want to tell you that the number one thing that people make mistakes on when they're painting in my classes, they're afraid to paint. They're absolutely petrified to use paint. They mix it so watered down with water that you might as well not paint at all. So use a lot of paint. You have paint, it's inexpensive, use it. I mean, don't be afraid of it. If you don't like what you're doing, you can wipe it off, or you can just let it dry and paint over it. So if you spill something like I did here on my canvas, people in my classes that do this, they freak out. Don't worry about it. You're going to paint over it. It's not a big deal. But I have to always walk around and exchange like my canvas with somebody else's, because people can't get past that there's a line on their canvas like this. It doesn't matter. So what? Paint dries, paint over it. It's great paint. And that's all there is to it. Just don't be afraid. So, okay, I'm using 2 brushes, and these are the brushes that I provide to all my students. One is a number 10 round brush, which is in my hands, and I'll put links again to everything, so you can either copy the link or you can find something equivalent. It doesn't really matter as long as it's a nice quality brush. These are about $15 each, I believe, when I purchased them. So this one makes nice points. It's a great brush. So this one is a 3/4 inch flat brush, and if you put it this way like I'm doing on the canvas now, you can get very thick lines, and if you hold it straight up on the chiseled edge of the brush, the bristles, you'll get a nice skinny line. So these are the only 2 that I provide. I don't really wash my brushes that much as I'm painting, and when I'm teaching, people are like, oh my gosh, she really doesn't wash her brushes. I wash them more in this one than I ever do, so I'll try to stop and let you know when I'm washing them and when I don't. So why wouldn't I wash them? That's what people ask me all the time. So I wouldn't wash them because I want some of that cross-pollination of colors. Sometimes people, I don't want everything so solid. I want the colors all to mix together and cross-pollinate. I want them to be throughout the whole painting. So I almost force them to keep some of that dirty paint inside their brush when I tell them not to wash it. So you should see the faces I get from people. So Yeah, this one I do wash them, but most of the time I don't, and it drives people insane because some of these people have OCD and they're just like, I have to wash my brush. I can't paint with another color on it. But get past that. We're gonna mix all these colors together. It makes wonderful, wonderful results. So just trust me, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna take a tiny bit of black here. I'm gonna do parts of this in real time and parts of this I may speed up. Not quite sure yet. We'll see how it goes as I go along. So I took some black on another plate and I'm mixing it with just some water. And what I'm doing is just creating more of an inky consistency because we're about to sketch this big Scarecrow's face. He's so awesome. You can make him more whimsical than I did here. And what I mean by that is you can, like, you know, add things to him or make like his hat a little bit more curvy, whatever you want. You don't have to copy me exactly. You can follow me exactly if you'd like to, but you make him your own. I'm certainly, you know, hope you do. So I'm going to put his head all kind of like on a tilt, and it's kind of like a big oval. And notice how I just go really, really quickly. I don't stress about it. And I'm going a few times. And it's okay if there's a bunch of lines. I'm going to paint over it. So now I'm going to be working on his hat. This right here is in real time, so he's pretty easy to sketch. Okay, so just cut off maybe the tip of his head a little bit because his hat's got to be sitting on his head. And I'm just going to make it kind of like a little bit of a whimsical brim. So it's going to kind of curl up on both sides. So just as long as I keep it at even and consistency on all sides there, see how the brim is all pretty much even, we'll be fine. So there's got like a, I don't even know what these top parts are called, so bear with me here, but there's like a little tie or something that goes around the brim of his hat or the top of his hat. So I put that in. So now I'm going to just loosely sketch in that sunflower. And I want it to be big and exaggerated and over the top because it's fall and you want to see all these beautiful fall colors. A lot of this painting, I also muted some of the colors to darken them and not make them so bright like springy or, you know, summery. So from there I went down below, and I of course missed his hat at the top, so I went back and put it in. So okay, so I just put in the scarf down the bottom. It's just a circle underneath his chin. Pretty easy so far. And then we're just going to add on the sides of that scarf. And then all the scarf is it like circles. It almost like looks like an inchworm or something. Like just like, you know, the inchworms that you make when you're little. So draw a couple little smaller ones coming down to the sides. And that's it. Give him a shoulder and give him another shoulder. So far you're doing great. It's really simple and easy, right? Everyone in my classes, I taught this, I think the largest class was 65 people, I think, to this one. And everybody looked at it in the beginning and thought, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. And their pictures are phenomenal. I'll find some of the pictures from that and I'll post it at the end. So hang on, don't leave. Just go to the end of the video or fast forward it, whatever. Get there, watch them. They're really good. You'll see how people really turn them out pretty well. Okay, sorry for that noise in the background. It is still summer and I have 4 kids. 2 of them are home and one of them's wandering around upstairs while I'm in my studio. So back to my painting. So I'm not going to sketch in everything yet at this point, just kind of basic outline here and there. So his eyes. Now you can make them, these are a little cross-eyed I think, but you can change the shape. If you don't like what you're doing, you can always change it. 'Cause when you color it in with our paint, we can always change it if we don't like it. So I don't know, I'm just sketching in different kind of whimsical eyes. Then I decided I wanted to kind of go a different shape, so I changed it, and you can do that. So there's going to be a lot of like, not mistakes, I want to say. There are going to be a lot of like sketches where I've changed things slightly, and I kept them in here, and I did some of them on purpose so you can see that you can change and make changes at any time. So I just taken off the black paint. You don't have to, because we're going to be using black again in another area, so you could leave it there and let it start to dry, but it was easy enough to just wipe off. So I wiped off the black paint and I'm going ahead now washing out my brush, which I really honestly never do. Alright, so I'm just going to grab some blue paint. Notice I'm grabbing it from the side. I'm not going straight down into the middle because I don't want you to contaminate all your paint. So always grab from the sides, okay? So I'm grabbing again from the sides. So I'm grabbing some blue and some black. And I'm looking for, and I'm grabbing some white. I'm looking for like a deeper blue, like a dusty blue, a dirty blue. So I'm kind of just, by adding the black and then the white, I'm getting a nice color for the background. So if you notice in the background, oh, by the way, I'm going to put a picture on my Facebook. So you can go over to my Facebook business page and get a picture there. I'm trying to think where else I can put it where you could find it easily. I'll list all the information at the end somewhere in case you can't find it on Facebook easily. So I just took some regular blue and some white, and I'm making 3 different variations of this blue. So if you notice in the picture, which I hope you have in front of you, you'll notice the background's got a lot going on. There's a lot of brush strokes. So I'm going to be coloring in the blue and all that section. So I also make X's, okay? Not quite like an X, like it's perfect. If you notice, my hand goes in an X motion. So that's what I'm trying to explain to you here, is that I'll outline a little bit just to get the outline or the shape, and then I'll go put some pretty big X's. Now I try to put the paint all over the place. I like to do a lot of the mixing right on my canvas. So if you notice, I'll just be grabbing some paint off of the plate and I'll be putting it on there. Just here and there. So then I'll come back in and I'll just do these X motions. See my hands going like little crosses, and it just kind of, don't mix the paint over mix it. You want to see all those streaks. You want to see all that stuff in there, okay? So it's good to see the brush strokes. You won't want it to look like a, you know, a flat, boring picture. You want it to look like a painting. Or that's my goal, is to try to show you how to do that. So I just do it ever so quickly. I do all the blue that's going to be around his head, and make sure you're doing the sides and the top and the bottom as you go along. So the reason why I want you to do the sides is only because it looks more finished. So if you put it on the wall with the push pin, they're relatively light. You can hang it up easily. Or if you just lean it against something, it'll still look finished all around. But honestly, these are awesome when you frame them. You can get something at ACMoore, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Joann's, even on Amazon. Just pop the glass out and get something for a 16 by 20 inch frame. And these look really, really neat. And there's a lot of different color options to framing them. So yeah, I would think about it. It just makes it finished. It's just beautiful. I love frames around anything. I just think it adds a little bit of glamour or glam, blings it up a little bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to continue around his head with my blues, and you can see, I hope you can see anyway, all the different variations of blues. So the corners, I'm working on that corner. If you notice it's a little bit darker, I will even deepen it up a little bit more. So I want to just also tell you the brush and my strokes. People use the top of the brush, like the ferrule of the brush where the metal is, like a pencil. Hold that back of the brush there. See how I'm using it and ever so lightly making these big X's? That's going to help you be a little bit more freer and not so tight. And you might, you know, not have as control as you're used to having. So let it go. Let all the control go. That's what people stress about, is just that it has to be perfect. And I always say in my classes, I drive people nuts. Perfectly imperfect. We are not perfect. Our paintings are not perfect. Your painting's not going to look like mine. It shouldn't. We're different. Really just have fun, but just be loose with your strokes and just big, huge strokes. Get the paint on there. Slap it on there any way you can. Okay, we can come out back later and define more things. But right now I want a lot of variation of color. I want some darks and some lights next to each other. Contrast. Don't make everything so flat like a coloring book, okay? That's the biggest mistake people make too, is that they mix one color and then that's it. And then if they run out of that color and they have to mix color to match that color, forget it. Their entire world, penny, the sky is falling. Like, I can't tell you. I'm just like, oh my gosh, everyone's personalities are so different, and it's great. I love it, but it drives me crazy. So for me to teach these, I always have to stress to people, mix. Make huge, like, big strokes on there. Mix on the canvas. Get used to mixing on the canvas. If you notice, I do that a lot. Oh my gosh, sorry about all that noise. I have 4 dogs. I have 3 beautiful golden retrievers and a gorgeous husky who's shedding crazy right now because of summer. But their Chewy's delivery came, and the guy just delivered it. And I swear they could read the box. It says Chewy's. If you don't know what Chewy's is, it's an online, it's a store, and they deliver pet food for you. I'll put a picture because, my gosh, it's just too funny. Yeah, so their Chewy's delivery came and all hell broke loose. So my studio is located down below where they are, and sometimes I hear them wandering around upstairs, and I'm like, I know they're getting into mischief up there. I love them dearly, but yeah. Sorry about that. It sounded like a bunch of elephants just ran through the house. So back to the painting. Light, loose, airy, a lot of brush strokes. You want to see all that movement going on, okay? So I'm coming back up with some of the darker color right now, and I'm going to go into that corner. I'm trying to cross-pollinate. I don't know if that's the correct term. That's how I describe it, is I want to take colors and put them all throughout the painting. So they're on the bottom, they're in the middle, they're on the top, they're on the sides, they're everywhere. So try to use the colors and spread them around all over the place. So nice strokes. You want to see them. Don't make them flat. Don't make them like a coloring book. Don't make them one solid color. The more you do this, the better you're going to be. Now, I went ahead by accident and dropped color or water on one of these spots somewhere, and it was not a big deal. I could easily pull it up later because I had so many variations of colors in there, you couldn't tell. So that's not one reason why I do it. I mean, it is one reason, but I just like it better. I like that it looks like a painting and not something, you know, like a poster or something. So that's why I do that. So go ahead and rinse your brush out. Oh my gosh, I'm washing my brush again. It's a miracle. Okay, now that I'm all washed out, I took some white and a little bit of yellow, and I'm going to mix those together. They're probably like in equal amounts at this point. You're going to have to play with it on your own and see. And not every color is going to match exactly. Don't stress about it. Don't stress. This is fun, okay? This is a lot of fun. So a tiny bit of red. Now I put it to the side, and then I kind of introduce them together slowly in case I don't like what's going on. So I put a little bit of green. Mixing that together. It's kind of like a grayish kind of weird color at this point. Now I'll start to incorporate them together. It's getting to be like a fleshy kind of color at this point. So I'll keep working on it until I get a color that I think is going to work nice. So I'll be working on the face at this point. I want to block in his face because I want to do that next, because when I come back and paint the mouth and everything on it, it will be dry. But I'm going to do different layers of this, okay? So this is like the first step that we're doing is like the underpainting, because we're going to come back and paint everything again twice, okay? So that's why I'm saying don't stress about it the first time. So I'm just playing with my colors until I'm happy with it. A little red, a little white, a little yellow. Just going ahead and finding a nice color that will work really well for like the linen color of his burlap sack or whatever he's made of. So you see I wanted a little bit more red, but I didn't want it to be so bossy to take over that color that I already mixed. So I'm going to mix that a little bit on the side. So my brush is dirty, and I will mix it in with the other color. But I'm going to keep that pink a little bit because I'm going to use that for the cheeks. But see how I didn't clean my brush? I just kind of mixed it straight in there. It's fine. That's what I'm saying, is I don't never wash my brush unless I'm totally changing colors. So I'm still adding some colors. It's the white and the yellow and the red. Okay, that's what I'm using. Variations of them. Play with those colors. Keep adding until you're happy with what you have. Okay, so I have like a little pink area and like a fleshy kind of color area. Okay, so the same principle. The way I painted the background. I'm just going to block it in ever so quickly. I use that side of the brush there to help me kind of draw it in. I'm not stressing. See how quickly I'm moving? It doesn't matter. You're not going to really make any mistakes at this point. This is like just coloring in the background. Just go right ahead. Go around his eyes. Now you can change the eyes if you don't like what you did. And don't worry if you see through your sketches. Like, you're going to see through them because the paint needs to dry a little bit and I need to come back over it. And that's fine. That's what I said. We'll be doing a bunch of different layers. But the same way I did the background with the blues and having all the brush strokes and having all the variations of colors, here we're going to see the same thing. Okay? So you want to see a lot of the colors weren't totally mixed together. So I'll pick up some of that pink. If you notice, I did grab a little bit. So it's just, you want to see a lot of movement. You want to see a lot of brush strokes, not flat. Okay? All right. So go ahead, fill that in nicely, and we'll get going on to the next thing soon. But I just want to make sure everything's pretty covered, and you can see the not the mistakes. I don't want to call them mistakes, the sketches. You can see the sketches around the eyes at this point, and it's totally fine. No stress. Okay, so let's move on to the next step. Okay, I did wash my brush out nice and clean now. I'm starting with some green and a tiny bit of black. So I'll have more green than there is black there, and a tiny bit of blue. Okay, so there's more green than anything else. So I'm going to mix those together. What I'm basically looking for here is a darker green, okay, a deeper green. So I'm going to be working on the brim of his hat and the top part of his hat. Oh, I wish I had moved my hand here, but I am painting it. So what I'm doing is the same. There we go. Just going around, kind of blocking in that color. And again, we're going to come back a little later and we're going to go over this again. So it's okay that you kind of see through it and you'll see some of that white of the canvas underneath. It's okay. So usually I yell at people and say, if you see little white dots, you're not using enough paint. Okay, so a lot of people aren't using enough water and they're not using enough paint. And that's a huge problem. But for here, since I'm doing it in thin layers, it's okay to kind of see through it. You're not really, it's just transparent. You're covering it, but you can still see through it. Some people don't use enough paint, so you actually see the canvas, to still see the white of the canvas. So even though it's coming through, you still have paint on top of it. Okay, I don't know if I explained that correctly, but yeah, if you're getting little white dots kind of like, that just means you're not using enough paint. So here the paint is thin. It's just the paint. It's just the brands. The paint I use for my sip and paint classes, which I'm not using here now, they have better coverage. So I don't really struggle with having to do things twice in my classes because I use those. They're more professional. They're a student grade, but they're better professional quality and they cost a lot more. So I'm trying to keep your costs down, but I will list them if you wanted to order them. I do think they come in the same sizes, so, or smaller bottles. So if you're interested in that, getting a nicer quality paint than what ACMoore has, at least that's my opinion, just my opinion. I will link those and you can certainly try those as well. It's the Acrylic paint. So I'm just darkening it up again. I ran out of paint, didn't mix enough, so try to mix as much as you need. And if you don't, you can obviously make it again. It's so simple. And if it doesn't match exactly, that's what I was trying to say earlier. Who cares? Don't worry about it. Just, you know, put it on there here and there, go back to the brim, add it in there. It cross-pollinates and that color will be consistent. So it's just making sure I did the edges or the top part in that green. That's what I'm doing. Can't really see that, but that's what I'm doing at the moment. So I did the blue on the top to the middle, and then now the green part will be there. I think that looks really kind of cool. Some people paint them black, and that looks really cool too. It's just personal preference. So if you're not going to frame it, definitely make sure you do your edges. So again, washing out the brush, I just can't believe it. Most of my paintings I never do, and I guess this one was one of those ones. So wash it out nice and good. Actually, if you notice, I didn't even wash it out that great. There's still probably a lot of color in there. I don't stress about it. All right, so now we're going to be working on the red part of his shirt. So it's a little bit of red and a tiny bit of black. You're going to have more red than you're going to have black, okay? So I'm just looking to get some nice fall colors and deepen up that red ever so slightly, okay? And that's how I'll do it. So this red's going to be the same because it's just not... it's not going to cover great. It's still going to be a little bit transparent. So I'm just going to put it on there, let it dry a little bit, come back, make some more a little later, and go over it again. So it doesn't matter if they don't match exactly. That's why I want to do a lot of different brush strokes and see a lot of movement, because it doesn't have to be exactly the same color that you mixed, okay? So just going around now, and I'm going to work on all the red area. So as I'm working on this red area, I'm going to apologize for all the noises here. So like I said, it is summer and I have 4 kids, busy house. My son's actually starting his very first job today. He just graduated from college with a biochemistry pre-med degree. And he was actually looking to go into med school. And when he was 19, he took a police test here in a local county. And they actually called him back. So it was too good to pass up, and I said, you know what, it's hard to get on this force, so you might as well give it a try. The salary is incredible. They make a lot of money here where I am in New York. It's not the city, so I'm not so nervous. But he's off at work today, and my other son is at work. I have 3 sons and 1 daughter. So my oldest son is 23. I have one that's 20 that's going into his last year of college. He just got home from Europe. He went to Scotland, Ireland, Greece, Germany. He studied in London and Oxford for a few weeks. So it was really exciting. He went to Poland and Finland, and I can't even remember where else he went. But he is at work, so I thought it'd be a little bit quiet to do this now. But my 16-year-old son, who's going into 12th grade, He just woke up, and then I heard my husky howling, and that meant that my daughter has now just woke up, and she's 10 years old. So the house is starting to wake up upstairs. I could hear the howling. The howling is now stopped, and now I hear our parrot is chirping for her, because as soon as the parrot sees my daughter, that's it. He just screams. His name is Lovely, because he's just beautiful and lovely, and we love him. But yeah, he makes a lot of noise. So apologize for all the noises. It is a busy house, and I do sneak in these videos as I can. Once they're back in school in September, another couple of weeks, I'll have quieter videos. So it's really quiet. Now, if you have children and you know it's too quiet, there's something going on. But anyway, back to the painting. So I'm going to take some white and a little bit of blue here. I'm going to mix those together. So I just used a little bit of blue, if you notice. So I'm trying to make like a nice kind of like light sky color blue. And that's going to be for the brim on his hat. I don't know if that's called the brim. Whatever that is, that part on his hat. And that I matched to the scarf around his neck. I just kind of thought it was a cool color. Just make sure that this color that you're putting on his hat is different from your background color, okay? You want to see the difference in colors. You don't want them to match, so you won't be able to see it, in other words. So it's a lighter color. So again, it's light, and I didn't mix enough, so I have to go back in and grab some more and mix it, which is totally easy enough. But just like we did everything else, you're not making a flat color. You're going to mix a lot on your canvas, and you will see some of those sketch marks that I originally created when we started in the background. You're going to see them come through, and that's fine because we're going to go over it a little bit again. And the color that I mix is definitely not going to be the same as this one. So this is like a base coat. So right now he's just kind of getting his underpainting going and the base coat going, and when it dries a little bit, we'll be able to come back and add some things on top of it. So the red is obviously wet, and if I hit the red, I don't freak out. A lot of people, I can hear them, oh my gosh, the world ends. They're just like, they're raising their hand. They're like, I hit the red, like the whole world's ending. And I'm like, yeah, so what's the big deal? Just keep going. Mix it in. It doesn't matter. Who cares? You have to be kind of carefree and stress-free when you're painting. And if you can start out painting and learning that from the beginning on these kind of classes, and if you really like to do them and you're enjoying it, then you can transition easily into learning how to really paint with acrylics. These are just fun, just to get your kind of feet wet. This is just to get you to the feel of the paint, how to hold the brush, how to mix. That's all these classes are intended to do. It's very first steps. I started teaching them to kids first, and the kids are amazing because they have no fear. Absolutely none. So all I did was I didn't wash my brush out. I just went right into that straight royal blue, and I'm just going to block in his overalls. So that's what I'm doing now. So yeah, so kids' classes, they just, they really have no fear. And if you can try to remember what it's like to be 5 years old again, and you're just blocking in color and you don't really care, even if you put two colors together that are awful, you know what? You're going to learn from all that. So go ahead and do it. Don't have any fears that, do these two match? Do these two clash? Who cares? Let it dry, paint over it. That's how I learned. I've been painting since I was probably at 3 years old. I had my first painting, and I still have it. My sister, who was 13 years older, saved it all these years. She just happened to love it. It was a little teacup, but it was one of those, not paint by numbers, what do you call them? Like connect the dots things. So it was a connect the dot thing. I don't think I could even count, but she probably helped me. So you can see the pencil mark. And then I used watercolors to do the rest. And I was hooked. I was hooked. I've been painting since I was a little girl. So experiment. That's how I learned. You just have to experiment. The more you paint, the more you're going to learn, and the better you're going to get, and the more things are going to make sense. And painting is all about tricking your eye and fooling the eye. So you don't necessarily have to paint every single thing in there like an outline. If you're outlining something, your eye's going to fill a lot of that in. It just automatically does it. Okay? So, all right, I guess I washed my brush again. It's like really, you have no idea. I'm like shocked how much I'm washing my brush out. But yeah, go ahead and wash your brush, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing now is trying to make a dark center for the middle of that sunflower. So it's a little black, which I really don't like to use black. I only use them in my sip and paint classes. I don't use them in my actual portraits or my commission work at all. I think black is too harsh, and I create my own dark colors by mixing other colors together. But just because you're getting your feet wet, we're going to use black. But we're going to knock it down a tiny bit because it's just so harsh. We're going to add some red to it. So I added a little bit of red to some black. Just going to mix it together. I'm keeping, you know, I want it to be a dark center, and I'm not going to worry that it has to be perfectly round. I mean, if you're watching my videos now and just seeing my paint style, I don't stress about anything. I don't have time to stress. I want this to be enjoyable. So I added some little bit of white there. So my circle is not going to look like a circle. Like, it's not going to be a circle. It's just going to be like popped on there, thrown on there quickly. Look, it's not a circle. Why? Because flower middles aren't perfect circles either. So you're just getting it on there. You just want it to be fun and whimsical and fall, think happy, think cold weather, think the smell of the leaves. Just get it on there. Okay, so now I just taking some yellow. I washed my brush, but not a lot. It's still mixed in there. There's still some black traces in there. I'm going to pick up some more black, and I'm going to muddy up that yellow. Okay, so I'm just dirtying it up, making it more like a fall color, not like a summer yellow or like lemonade. I'm making fall. So I'm getting a tiny touch of red to it. You're not even going to see it really. It's there. I know it's there. It's not going to turn orange. So if you turned orange, that's not it. You got to add some more yellow. Okay, so it's just a dirty yellow, basically. I'm just going to block in as quickly as I can. No stress. You could form the leaves a little bit here, or the petals. I keep calling them leaves, but they're petals. So you can just kind of just block those in ever so quickly. And it's okay if you touch the middle of that inside of that flower. And it's okay that you see the sketch lines too. I kind of like that because it kind of gives it some character, and it kind of defines the leaf a little bit. So use things like that to your advantage. You don't have to stress about them. I mean, you don't have to cover that 900 times so you can't see them. I mean, does it matter? They're there and they look fine, and I think it goes with the painting, so leave it. So I'm a very carefree kind of artist, I guess. I don't know if you've seen like my real work. I shouldn't say it's real work, but my work that stresses me out. Like, I do have stress in my job because I am a commissioned artist. So when realtors call me and say, I have a house that's being sold and I need a closing gift, and they hire me, the house that I'm painting for them, it needs to look like that house exactly, or as much as I can. So yeah, that's a little stressful. So, but here, have fun. So I'm just going in. My brush is still not perfectly clean. I don't care. This is the fun part about my job. I don't care. Just put some red on a brush. You're blocking it in. You're going to go over it a couple times anyway. You're just underpainting, okay? All right, so let's go a little bit further and see what the next step is. Okay, so just like in the beginning when we were learning how to sketch, I just took some black with some water. I'm getting it inky. Just something that's easy to draw with, okay? So I'm just going to kind of block in his little eyeballs, the black parts of his eyes. So this is where you can, I made him a little cross-eyed, but you don't have to. Make them any way you want. Put them wherever you feel they look good. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing, okay? I tell people that in my classes too, and they can't do it. What'd you do? Where'd you do it? How big is it? Compare things to like fruits. I'm like, it's the size of an apple. It's the size of a pear. It's the size of, you know, a grape. Do what you want. This is your painting. Make it your own. You know, you can follow me. You can do it exactly. It doesn't matter. If you want to do it that way, you're welcome to. If you don't, you want to change it, you want to make one eye look in one way and one eye look in the other way, go for it. Painting is all about fun, and I can't stress that enough in any of my videos. I would not be at the level that I'm at now if I didn't enjoy it. So as I was saying with the house portraits, yeah, they're stressful. And painting people is stressful because people commission me. They're paying me a lot of money to paint their father or their wedding picture or whatever. It's very stressful. But because I had fun learning, it's not so stressful for me. At times it can be, just dealing with people and personalities and capturing what their moment is that they're trying to tell me can be stressful. But the painting process is always a lot of fun. I love it. I live for it. And I hope you're getting that when you watch these, how much I love to paint. So all right, I took some green and I took some white and I added a little bit of yellow in there. So I'm trying to get a nice bright kind of springy kind of green, and I'm going to use that for his beautiful eyes. It's a nice fall color. You see blue eyes everywhere. Everybody makes blue eyes, but I like to not be everybody. I think that's what makes me the crazy artist that I am, is that I try to think outside the box. I try to do my own thing. I try to experiment. I think most artists that have art running through their veins like I do, their soul, who they are, can just do that instinctively and naturally. So try to not copy or do things that you see everybody else doing, okay? If that makes kind of sense. When you're learning, obviously you're learning, so you're starting out and you have to kind of learn and follow along. But when you get the courage and you start to branch out a little bit, start to just kind of wander. It's a lot of fun not to stay on that path, okay? Get off the path a little bit. So I'm just taking some white and I'm going ahead here, and this is where I'm defining more of that shape of that eye, okay? So I'm sorry my crazy stories. You know, sometimes I listen back to these videos and I'm like, what the heck was I sharing? What was I thinking? But I want to share with you some little bit about who I am. So I'm very happy with everything. Gave you the thumbs up as you noticed, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use those same colors that I used in the beginning for that blue background, and I'm going to mix some more. And again, if you forgot how to do this, it's the darkest color is the black, some blue, and a little bit of that white, and I'm just dirtying up the blue, just like we dirtied up the yellow for the flower, and just like we dirtied up the red and everything else that we're doing. It's like we're dirtying up the colors because we don't want them straight out of the jar. We don't want them so vibrant. Okay, so I'm going to mix some blue, just like I did earlier, some black together, and a little bit of white. Mix those together, and I'm getting that deep kind of dusty blue. Now, if you notice, it's not the same, and that's fine. I don't care. Remember? Talked all about that. It doesn't have to matchy exactly what I had. This is really the hardest part of teaching when I'm teaching live and I'm teaching large groups, is people just don't understand. They'll spend 15-20 minutes. The class is an hour and a half to 2 hours, and they will spend 15 minutes trying to match up a color when I'm telling them they don't have to worry about it. So don't worry about it, okay? All right, so we're going to get kind of close. Doesn't have to match here and there. We'll just kind of go with what we have mixed the second time around. So we're going to go over this again because it was very see-through. There was some transparent areas. So I'm going to start at the top with my darkest color, and I do this for a reason. When you do the corners dark in all of my paintings, professional paintings as well as these sip and paint paintings, my corners are always dark, and that's because it draws your eyes inward to your focal point, okay? I always do it. It's been done for years. A lot of people have done that. Masters have done it. It's just a good way to kind of, you don't even realize it's doing it, but your eyes will definitely draw it more inward. So here again, I want to see all these brush strokes. I want to see variations of colors. I want to see all those little X's and crosses. And I am going over, you know, some of the stuff that I've done, but you're still seeing through this layer. You just can't really tell that you are at this point. So all that color underneath is still coming forward. So that's what I'm doing now, just ever so quickly. I'm using some of the straight blue out of the jar. See how I'm using it there? Because I want it to cross-pollinate with his overalls. I want the color of his overalls to be somewhere else in the painting. This way it all matches. I don't want to say matches. It will all kind of go together. So these two pieces up here, you want to make sure they're different where I pointed to, okay? You don't want the background color, the sky or whatever it is behind him, to be the same color as the blue in his hat. So make sure that when you're working, they're different. You want to make sure they're different because you don't want to look at it and lose that hat. You want the hat to kind of just look like it's floating on top of, not his head, but like you'll lose that feeling that it's sitting there, like it's a hat and it's part of the hat. Okay, so a lot of the strokes. I love the strokes. It looks really wonderful when it's all done. See them all? Beautiful. The more strokes you have, the better. And I do work in that X. And I do kind of look at it and see if there's anything I want to knock down that might look funny or something that's sticking out too much. So just take your time and go around. So all right, so I'm going to go around and I'm going to do this side and the hat, and then we'll come back to it. I'm just going to stop this now so the video isn't too long. So we'll go ahead and I'll fill that in. All right, so I kept the footage because I wanted you to see I was mixing the same blues again for the other side. I fast forwarded it only because we already know how to do this. We already did this in the beginning. So I'm going to work around the whole side of his head, and I'm going to do this for his hat and his shirt and everything else. So I wanted you to see it, but I didn't want to bore you here completely and have it go so super slow for you. So it's just the same kind of motions. It's just another layer on top of it, the same kind of little X's, the same variations in colors. You're going to use your lights, your darks. You mix about 3 different colors of that same hue, and the hue is just that same color, just lighter and darker versions of it. Okay, so if I ever say that, that's what it means. So all right, I'm totally happy with that. And here I made a mistake, or I dropped water. I didn't make a mistake, and I'm not worried about it. And the nose bled a little bit. I don't stress about it. People in my classes would be flipping on the floor at this point. So yeah, don't worry about it, because you're going to come back over and you're going to make that skin color again, and you're going to cover that up. So let it dry. If you do something like I did, I'm just letting it dry. I'm going to come back. So I'm taking the same dark green that I made earlier, and I'm just going to go over and see how it's covering. It's going right over any of those little like white streaky parts that I didn't want to see. That's because it was so transparent, you could still see some of the canvas underneath. Even though I had totally put paint on it, you could still see it coming through. So there's a difference between having not put enough paint on the canvas and seeing all the like white dots of the canvas coming through, as opposed to seeing like big long streaks like that. Okay, so it's pretty easy so far. I hope you're enjoying this. I hope you're not too crazy and bored with my nutty stories that I tell. Sometimes, you know, I'm not serious. Like some of my videos in the past were so serious. I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, what was I trying to be like so, you know, professional? I don't know. It's totally not me. So I'm just going to be me. I just decided I'm going to be me. So if you can bear with all my craziness and my crazy stories that I probably will share with you, then stick on to the channel and subscribe and whatever. So I also want to ask you, please give me the thumbs up, because it brings my videos to the top. More people watch them. And honestly, if as a creator or somebody who's creating these videos, I like to see that people are enjoying them. I like to get a thumbs up only because I know you're liking them or responding in some way. I'm bad too. I watch a video and I'm like, oh, I didn't give them a thumbs up. Now I make sure I do, just because as creators, we don't know if you like it. I don't know unless you give me a thumbs down or a thumbs up. If you give me a thumbs down, just tell me why, because I can't get better. I can't improve without that. So if you could do that, I would really appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel. I hope to do a lot of these different things in the future, but I need to know that you guys really want to see that, because it's a waste of my time otherwise, right? All right, so I went ahead and I made some more flesh color. So it's some red, some white, and a little bit of yellow, okay? So see how it doesn't match so perfectly here? And that's okay. It's just covering it again, and I'm just going over it again. So it's going to cover up that little smudge on the red. It's going to cover up any of those like streaky thing coming through. I'm keeping this in fast motion because we've seen this already. We've done this already. I'm not going to bore you to death, okay? So that's why I'm going to leave it going fast speed from this point. I probably will stop it at some points because we're going to do some outlining and some other new stuff that we haven't worked on. But for now, just the parts that we're going over, I want you to see them, but I'm just going to keep them sped up. So I'm just mixing another skin color area here, and I'm going to add a little bit of more red to it because I want to do some cheeks too. While the paint's wet, I can add some nice rosy cheeks to it. So the skin is made up of some yellows, like I said, some white and some red, and it doesn't have to be exact. You will see, like, just like we did the background, it doesn't have to be a flat face. You don't want it to be that way. I mean, there could be sun hitting on him. There could be, you know, maybe the burlap's dirty on one section or whatever his face is made up of. So it's okay to have it all different colors, all right? So don't stress again. I want this to be as stress-free as possible. So I'm just starting to add some red, and I went like soft in the beginning, so light, and I can always go darker. So I'm just trying to get some cheeks out of this guy and give him some personality. You could start to see him coming through. So I went ahead and I did that on both sides, and I just used the same either tapping motion or little tiny X's to blend it out so it would kind of blend into his face, that you wouldn't see two circles like Raggedy Ann and Andy. You know, who has those circles? You know, those two red circles on there. I forget who it is now. But anyway, you don't want to see two, like, you know, red little perfect balls on his cheek. So blend them in, make them as red as you want, and we'll go from there. All right, here's the next part coming up. All right, so now I think everything's almost covered except I got to work on that flower a little bit up top. So we're going to muddy up the yellow again with a little bit of black. And if you can see, there's some like, in the flower, there's some like brown kind of smudges and stuff like that. It's okay. I think that's kind of cool because flowers have a lot of different colors in them. And this yellow is really transparent. You still will see that coming through. So it's not going to be as harsh. See how I just covered it up? But you will see it. So I went around and just muddied up that yellow. I kind of like it, that color. It's just a pretty fall color. I love fall. Fall is one of my favorite times of years. I mean, I say that with every season though when I get to it. I always say I love summer, and then I do love spring. I was born in the spring, but there's something about fall and just the crispness of the air. You can, like, breathe good. So I added a little bit of red to it just to get some nice orange color. And what I'm doing now is I'm just going to pull just in the center of that brown kind of centerpiece. I'm going to kind of pull some orange out towards the petal, the end of the petal, but not all the way because I still want to see the yellow. Okay, so just don't let it take over and get so bossy that all of a sudden you have an orange flower. So you want to still keep it with colors in it. You want to see a lot of different colors in it, but you still want to see that yellow, or the dirty yellow, I should call it. All right, so I'm going to mix that beautiful eye color again. So it's some green and some white and some yellow. So the more yellow you add to it, the more like spring kind of color it becomes. Just got a little brighter, and that's what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and go back into those eyes again. And this time around, I don't know, I wasn't paying attention. I think I slipped a little bit on this eye, and I kind of knocked into that black. And I'm going to keep it because I want to show you what I did. So I went like, didn't look so round there all of a sudden. You have to have round eyes, but it's okay. I kept it there because I want to show you how easy it is to fix it a little bit later. So right now he looks a little wonky. I guess I don't know what other word to use for that, but his eyes look a little weird. So that's what I wanted to show you. So if you do things like that as you're going along, don't stress about it. So with that same color green that I was using throughout, I'm going to use that, and I'm just going to paint in some leaves coming off that sunflower. And I'll go right into the hat. Even though the hat is still wet, it doesn't bother me at all. Because what? Why? I want them to mix together. Who cares? Don't stress about it. See how the green, it was pretty. Came right into the other color. And I had it on the brush, so now I had to add it to the other one. So that's why I did that, and I like the way it looks. And I'll move forward from there. All right, so now I'm taking some black, and I'm going to try to make a different color. I want to add some of that color that we use for the orange. So I'm going to use that while it's wet. I'm going to just pounce some black into that. So I want to use that color into the center of my flower. So I added a little bit of red because that's what we made it with the metal of that flower to begin with. We added some red and some black together. So I'm adding some green. And I'm trying to come up with a color that's different than what I have already in the middle. So I still need a dark color, but I still want it to be a little bit different than what is originally there, because I'm just going to ever so lightly pounce with my brush around that middle center. So I'm still going to see that color that we put on originally come through. So there'll be like parts of it. Let me see if I can zoom in on it for you. So there you go. See how you see some different colors going on there? And I'm not making it circle. I'm kind of making sure it's not a true circle. So I'm going outside of that circle. So you don't want it to be so perfect, okay? It just looks better. It looks more natural. All right, so I'm taking some of the yellow that we mixed beforehand. I'm going to add a little bit more yellow to it there. And I'm just going to pounce that just into that circle. Just a little bit. Same way I did the other color. So you can see it. Alright, so now I'm going to be making different variations of like some blue grays. Okay, so I'm going to be working on some of the detailing in the scarves and stuff like that. We need to make them like plaid. So like a bandana type kind of thing. So I'm looking to do a couple different shades of this blue. So I have regular blue straight out all the way up in the top. The middle is more like a medium gray. And I used the black and the blue together to get that gray. And then a light color just mixed with some white. So when I first go and I attempt to put some lines on it, if you notice, I'm going to work up there. You can't see it. See how I stop? And then I grab the second color in the middle. Because once I realized that you can't see it, there's no contrast, I went to another color. So that's why I mixed a couple. So what I'm doing is I'm not drawing lines perfectly with continuation line. You'll see a lot of breaks in them. And I do that for a reason. I want your eye to fill it in. I want to give the suggestion that there's like bandana or something. So that's why I do it very lightly and very quick. And if you just kind of, you might have to watch this twice unless you totally understand what I'm saying. So I'm just making very quick lines here and there, maybe two together, to create some sort of bandana type looking. And I alter the direction. So I'm going diagonal, I'm going straight down, and I'm not repeating. There's no repetitive pattern in any of them. If you notice, they're all different. You can refer to the picture, print out the picture, okay? I'll try to link it somewhere where you can find it and actually copy it, you know, and download it to your pictures or whatever. So print it out. I think you should do that definitely when you're working along with me. So I'm doing the same thing. I took another color. I took the bright blue out of the jar, straight from the jar. And I'm just making some lines here and there. I'm going to do the same thing down below. I might go different directions. I'm not going to go the same way. I'm going to try to cross over them here and there. Okay, so you're just tricking the eye, fooling the eye. That's all painting is. If you can figure that out early on, that it's an illusion, like magic, then as you get farther along and you really truly learn how to paint, like if you want to paint, you know, a person or an animal, it's all about tricks. It's all about working with lights and darks and tricking the eye, and the eye will fill things in even though it might not be there. So this is the beginning stages, like I said earlier, to just get you to learn how to hold the brush and how to play and how to mix. Okay? All right, so I'm doing the same thing here in the overalls. I'm just kind of putting lines here and there with that dark gray. I want to give it some contrast, some interest, some movement. I want it to not be flat. Don't want anything to be flat like a coloring book, you know, like when I say coloring book like that, I mean like when you're little and you color the whole thing in with that one color and then you can't put any other colors on top of it. So you want to put colors on top of it. You want to put different colors. You want to mix things. You want to keep strokes. You want to keep like seeing a lot of different things happening in it. Okay? So all right, so now we got those two things done. I'm going to take some white. I'm going to go back over the brightest white part of his eyes now. And now this is where I can kind of really define the shape of them and get them to look the way I want. He's really cute. He's so popular that by the end of fall, I'm like, I can't paint another Scarecrow. I can't look at a Scarecrow. I teach so many classes privately in houses even. I teach fundraisers, large fundraisers, and it's expensive. I mean, people pay a lot of money to come see me paint these, and I appreciate it. It's great. And, you know, 4 kids going to college, so I really could use the money, which is nice, and it's a good extra income for me. But this guy's so popular, and I'm kind of glad he is because, you know what, it pays my bills. So anyway, I'm going over the red again, just making sure that everything's got good coverage. There's a little bit of white from the eyes on my brush. I don't stress about it. Like I said before, everything's got a lot of variations of colors in it. So that's why I'm able to just keep going so quickly. All right, so our next step, I'm taking some white. And you notice my water's all muddy and dirty. I keep it like that for a reason too. I don't really like working with water that's clean. People drive me nuts. I have 7 women that work for me, and they are constantly running, changing water, and I'm like, you don't need to, but people just have it in their heads. So look at my dirty water. Use the dirty water. I mean, there are times if I'm doing watercolor, yeah, it has to be pretty clean, but this is acrylic. So I'm just taking some of those reds, making some like pink streaks down there. Did you see I added those just like I did in the bandana? I'm going to add some black and some pink ones. So the black ones are a little thicker, but try to keep your lines skinny. You don't want big, huge, chunky ones. These are even too thick than what I normally do. But I was rushing because I have a really busy day today, so I was just trying to get this up for you quickly. So here and there, just indications that there's something, that there's some sort of plaid. And I got to go the other direction too. So I always keep them kind of skinny and put two together like that, just like you would see in a plaid shirt. And see how I went into the blue a little bit there? I don't stress about it. It just doesn't matter to me. Just have fun. Please have fun. I hope you're enjoying these. I really do. It's a good way to, like I said, just jump in and kind of learn about paint and what it does and what it can do. And this is a great one to keep out. You know, this would be a good gift too to somebody. You could do a couple of these. They don't take that long. It'll take you probably 2 hours if you're really not a painter. About 2.5 hours if you're really slow. And quicker if you can paint quicker. So remember when I made the mistake before in the green and I went kind of like into my black eyeball? So this is where I'm going to just come back and clean it up and define it again. That's why I don't stress about anything. Paint is so forgiving that you can just fix it and go over it. I mean, if people were as forgiving as paint, we'd be in a perfect world. Nobody would be mad at each other. So, yep, see, I just go ahead and redefine my shape. It's as simple as that. So while I'm working on the black, I'm going to go ahead and outline some of the areas here that I need to outline. So you might want to, I'm going to darken the middle to just pure black in the center of that because those flowers have those dark centers. So you might want to let everything dry a little bit when you go back and you do like your eyes and stuff like that, when you go ahead and you outline it, because you don't want it to run together. Okay, but I didn't really do that. So what I'm doing is making a nice bright green at this point. And see the black's coming right out of my brush because I didn't wash my brush that well. I just kind of got it wet. And that's okay. That's what I'm trying to teach you. It's okay to have all that dirty stuff in the water. It gives the painting more character and it makes it interesting. I'm going to turn up the edges a little bit there on my leaves just to make it a little bit whimsical. So now I'm going to start working on all this crazy hair that he's got going on. So I'm going to mix that now for you. Alright, so I found the plate that I had that I was working on, the flowers and those darkest centers. And I'm just adding some water to one of those colors there. So I'm going to try to mix a couple different colors that would like look good in his hair. So this is up to you. You can make a brown, you could make tan, you could make whatever you want. So I'm just going to be playing around here and see what colors I come up with. I want fall colors. I want colors that would be like straw. So I have green and brown, green and red that I'm mixing together here. It's easier to just hold the plate. I'm trying to juggle the two plates and it's just too hard. So I'm mixing them together. It's a nice dark color. And I'll just go, you know, slowly and pick out different colors and keep adding it to it. So I really wanted to let you see how I mix this. So I'm really trying to struggle holding these two together. I'm glad they're not heavy. Of course, I run out of all my paint colors too. So use paint as you go along. You don't have to overload your paint palette, okay? So here's some yellow that I'm just going to add next to it. And I'm going to just pull some of that dark color into it because it's going to give me a variation of that color. Okay, so it's made from that color. It's just going to give me a little bit of a different color. So I'm looking for like straw kind of colors or some browns, some muddy kind of colors for his hair. So like I said, it's up to you. You play with it and see what colors you like. So I didn't wash my brush, you notice. I just went right into the red. And I'm going to go right up from the side and get some more yellow. So now I'm going to have like 3 nice colors over there. But I wanted to add another color. I wanted to add like a color that would be not really expected in straw hair. And that would be like a darker green, like a huntery kind of green color. So I was going to try to make that too. So now I'm making I didn't wash my brush, I just grabbed white. And I'm just, when I twirl it, I'm pulling out some of that paint that's in there, if you notice. So I have like 4 kind of nice colors. The one on the bottom is going to be more of my greener color. Well, you can't really tell. So I should have I should have washed my brush out, but I didn't, of course, because I never do. So I just mixed it in with that dark color. And then I realized it was a little too light. So I just added some black to it and a little bit more red. I think I grabbed red. Yep. There we go. So I'm adding some more red to it just to get my color a little back to the way I had it. So see, things can easily come around. You can just play with it like I do until you find the colors that make you, you know, happy with your choices or what you would think would look good in his hair. Okay. So I have 4 different colors here. I want a lot of different colors, and I'm going to use all of them, and I'm going to do them in different layers. And I twirl the brush. If you see it, I twirl it to try to get to a point. Okay, so when I'm happy with all my colors, I'm going to go around his face, and I'm going to kind of flip his hair out. I want to start out with the ends. I want it to be like skinnier on the ends, okay? So I'm lifting my hand up as I pull. I'm kind of turning my wrist like that ever so quick, and I'm trying to make wispy, kind of stringy looking straw hair on him. So I'm using the darkest color first. I'm going to go different directions. This is where you make it your own. You decide if you want it to go how you want your hair to go. Make sure I pull some onto his face though, a little bit. So you want it to look like hair. So see how I came onto the face there like that? That's going to give him some character as well. So yeah, so just continue around and just take your time here. And if you make a mistake, like if you think, oh my gosh, I totally hate his hair, just make that blue color again for the background and paint over it, or paint the color of his skin again and go over it. That's what I'm trying to teach you, is anything can be fixed. So I want to show you quickly how I'm using that brush to get a nice, really thin point. If you push hard on it to start and you lift it up ever so slightly, okay, and if you notice, watch my thumb. My thumb's going to twirl. My thumb's going to like spin a little bit. So watch my thumb. And I see how I push, I start to move it up. No, I did it before. I'm not doing it now. I'm teaching you a different stroke. There we go. See how I move my thumb up? I'm turning the brush. So that's going to also help give a nice point. Okay. There you go. So I have nice, thick, and it ends with thin, wispy pieces at the end. So just take your time. Practice on the side if you have to. Practice on one of the plates like I just did when I showed you. Okay, so I'm going to switch now. I'm going to add another color. And you want them to be contrasting colors, okay? You want them to be all different. And it's up to you, what colors you want to use. But I'll put my lightest ones on top. And then when I think I'm done, then I'll add a couple other colors on top of that even. So it was the darkest color first. Now I'm adding some of it's like a brown kind of color. Because it might be the back of the straw. There might be shadow on the straw. Or if you want to keep it like this, you can. But I like a lot of different colors. I like all 3. I think it just gives it some personality. It makes them fun. So I like that color that I was just using so much that I just added a little bit of that skin color kind of towards it. So it gave me like a lighter one. So I'm going to add some of that straw down below by his neck because, he's made of straw and you always have that coming around their necks and the straw sticking out. I'm just going to give it some character, so I'm going to put it over his bandana. I'm going to go right onto his bandana. It makes it just, it looks nice. So those are the only 2 areas that really have a lot of this straw hair kind of thing. I went ahead and I'm going to add some of that color up into that hat too. I thought it'd be nice. This is where I'm talking about cross-pollinating. So instead of outlining it in black, I'm just going to use the brown because I think it's just going to all tie it in nicely. So this is really a good example of what I mean by cross-pollinating color. So I could easily have gone around and just outlined this whole thing in black, but I didn't want it to be so harsh. Black is so harsh, and when you outline something, it's just, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it. Black certainly helps in certain situations, like in the shirt, I needed that black there. So I'm just playing around with some of that brown still, trying to figure out where to add it while I have it on my brush before I rinse my brush. Did I just say rinse my brush? So yeah, so that's what I'm doing. So I'm just kind of looking at it and taking a nice good look and seeing where I think things should be. So see, my color, my water's dirty, and I mix that dirty water right in, and it doesn't bother me. I love it. So I'm going to take that light color, that's dirty water, and here's my lightest straw colors coming in. It changes a little bit, it makes it pop. Now I can really see it, but I still have all those dark colors underneath it. And that's what you need, because all that straw hair is in the back farther away, and it's darker, it's in shadow. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm just taking some of the black, and it's not even true black, it's kind of like the brown darker color that I was using for the sunflower. So I had that reserved on the plate somewhere. So I'm just making these kind of little lines around his nose, and I'll go ahead and I'll give him like a really wonky kind of mouth. Oh, I hope I moved that plate. There we go. So the mouth is just kind of up and down. It's just making him smile, but not so perfect. Again, not perfect. Everything is much easier when it's not perfect. So just try to keep your lines thin at this point. You don't want big, thick lines. Now, I've been doing this for 100 years. I feel like I've been painting, I've been painting all my life. So you might want to use a thinner brush if you have one, but this brush is definitely capable. As you can see, it's a number 10 brush, and I'm just barely touching down. So I'm able to create really skinny lines, but I don't want you to get this far and ruin it, okay? So if you notice too, I go around the eye, and I try to go in one motion. Like you notice I don't stop, my hand doesn't lift up, in other words. So some people are able to do this and some people are not able to do this so easy. So I'm just going around, and I'm going to continue around. I'll go like halfway, and then I'll go from the other side of the eye. It's just easier for me to do that. But like I said, I've been painting so long, you might not be able to do that so easily. So take your time, just go around the eye, and don't make really big, thick lines. You want to keep them pretty thin, okay? And then I just gave him a couple eyelashes, and he's starting to come together. He's starting to have a personality. He's really cute. He's, like I said, he's one of the most popular ones, so I hope you give him a try. Don't be intimidated by him. He's pretty easy, okay? Just slow the video down. Whatever you have to do. Just always have the reference photo. Like I said, I'll link it somewhere for you to find. Have the reference photo out so you can see what he looks like as we go along. And, just enjoy the process and have fun. So I'm also taking that same dark color. I'm just going to do the leaves up there on the top, and then I'll go around the flower as well. So just outlining. But if you notice I'm not outlining, like I said, I think I mentioned it earlier, I'm not quite sure, but if not, I'll mention it again. You might have some skips in your outline. Like you won't have everything like perfectly outlined where there's no breaks in it. So I'm adding a little bit of the black. See how I just kind of added that dark color? And see how I don't connect everything? I leave spaces. That's what I mean. Don't stress about perfectly outlining anything. The quicker you do it and the more you don't connect everything, the better it's going to look. Just do it fast. See how I'm pushing down and just going quickly with my wrist? I just kind of push and go. So I think, you can change his personality. You can change his eye color to blue if you wanted to, or brown, or anything you wanted to do. Totally make this your own, whatever you think was going to look good. So I was giving him some buttons over there on his overalls at some point. I was trying to add little embellishments here and there. I just outlined his overalls. Like I said, if I miss a section or a section doesn't come out so perfect, I don't stress about it. It's not a big deal. Your eye fills it in. So just have fun and enjoy this one. He's really fun. He is a great one to pull out every fall. You can just store him away or put him in a frame. I hope to do a couple more. I have some pumpkin ones with some lanterns that are really pretty that I wanted to try to do a video on. I try to do videos that I'm teaching, so I can just film them as I'm doing them for my classes. I have to do samples for my classes. So if somebody asks me, do you have a sunflower, or can you make me, or whatever, I'll try to film it and post them up here if I can. I'm busy in the fall with them. Fall and spring seem to be a really, really big time, or not quite spring, like wintry spring, when like March, April, really busy. But I'm always super busy. October, November, December, it's kind of quiet unless I have like a Christmas holiday one. It gets more quiet. So it has its highs and lows, but I'm coming into fall now and it's a big time of year. I have a lot of paintings that I'm teaching that I've already painted already, so I don't have them on video. But I'm thinking if I have any time, I could just quickly do some for you. So I'm getting to the end of the video here. I'm just going to let it kind of play out so you can see how it's coming along. I don't think it needs too much more instruction at this point. I think you kind of get it. You put the whites of his eyes in, and then you make sure you sign it with a Sharpie. But I wanted to thank everybody for watching. Please leave me comments. Without your comments, I don't know if, maybe you want less talking, maybe you want it fast forwarded more, maybe I don't know, maybe you want me to put it to music. I don't know unless I hear from you. So please take time to just share and to tell me your thoughts and feelings about it. And thank you for watching if you watched it to the end. I appreciate it so much. So I want to do more of these for you, but like I said, I'm very busy. I am a commissioned artist, so that takes up most of my time. But as I do these for classes, I will certainly try to share these. It only took me a couple of hours to, do all this voiceover. I'm not very good at this part. It's not the part of the business that I have any expertise in by any means. I don't have a clue sometimes what I'm doing about editing or whatever. So I'm trying to pull it together. Hopefully you saw enough that you're able to try these on your own. So please subscribe to the channel, and please thumbs up. I really appreciate the thumbs up. So I know you're liking it or not. If you don't like it, again, if you give me a thumbs down, please leave me a comment as to why. But I'd love to hear your comments either way. It'll really help me out for future paintings. I mean, otherwise there's no point in me posting them because they do take a lot of time to sit down and get together for you. So thank you. Take a look at my website. It's barbarabeckmannart.com. It's Beckmann with 2 N's, Beckmann. A lot of people miss that, but keep a lookout for me on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, and hope to see you back here again on YouTube. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this one. Have a great day and happy painting. Bye now.